Hi, I'm Katrina Stanfield and I'm doing Level 2 Culinary Skills at SERC Bangor, and today I'm going to show you how to make a caramelized onion and pine nut pizza. So the first thing you want to do is get a bowl of flour. I start off with most of my flour but not all of it. Some of it is separated in another little bowl. And to this I'm going to add some dried yeast and some salt to opposite sides of the bowl, because if you add them on top of each other the salt could kill the yeast actually. And yeah, I'm going to give that a little mix around first just to make sure they're all in the flour so they can't fall on top of each other. And next you want to add a little bit of oil into some lukewarm water that feels kind of just about the same temperature as your finger. If you put your finger in, that's how you know it's lukewarm. So I'm going to add this into my flour mixture all in one go, and get yourself a wooden spoon and mix that around until you see a sort of dough come together. So it tends to be quite stiff at this point, but a little bit sticky as well, and that's good for a pizza dough like this. And then you can decide yourself if it looks a bit dry or a bit wet, and you might add a bit more flour or a bit more water. So to me this looks a little bit sticky, so I'm going to add a little bit of extra flour to it and mix that in until I get a dough that's kind of sticky but dry. I don't know, it looks like a bread dough and it feels like it has a bit of stickiness in your hands, but it's not mad sticky, sticking all over the place. And then what we're doing is we're going to knead this. So a dough scraper is quite helpful here, particularly if your dough is a little on the sticky side. So you tip the whole thing out onto a nice clean work surface, and you start kneading with the heel of your hand, so pushing it out and bring it back together like this. And you're going to do this for like 10 minutes until the dough kind of changes its consistency. It starts to go a bit elastic. It won't be sticking up to your hands and to the work surface as much. You won't need as much flour at the end because it'll just start getting nice and elastic and stretchy kind of texture. So this isn't really anywhere near close yet because it is quite similar, and at this point I do still need a lot of flour for my work surface to stop it from sticking. But after 10 minutes it would look quite different. It'd be quite elastic, and like when you poke it, it would kind of spring back. It has that nice elasticity and springiness. And then you're going to prove that dough in the same bowl you mixed it up in, with just a little bit of olive oil. Drizzle that around, and then you get your dough inside there and just kind of toss it around and then put it upside down. I have to shake it around like this to make sure it's kind of covered in olive oil. It's not going to stick or anything like that. And then you cover that with a nice clean tea towel, and you put it somewhere nice and warm to prove. And in that time the dough is going to rise and get all big and bubbly. So that takes about half an hour of proving. And then I had dough already, that I proved. It took half an hour and it came out looking perfect, just the way I wanted it. And then I rolled it out with a rolling pin, just nice and straight. And then it looked like this. So this whole dough, it's a big family size pizza. You could probably feed like 6 people with this, I'd say, but that is only, so that's the full dough recipe. But you could double it if you wanted an extra pizza to put in your freezer, and then you could take it out on a different day if you wanted pizza again. So I'm going to take this nice dough and I'm going to make kind of like a white pizza with it. So I have here some ricotta and grated Parmesan cheese mixed together, and I'm just going to spread that in an even layer across the surface of the pizza, kind of leaving a little bit of room for the crust. So that's the only part of your pizza that's a bit drier and crispier than the rest, because it won't have any topping on it. So I'm going to spread this in a nice even layer across the surface of the pizza. And your ricotta should be nice and soft. Maybe even leave it outside of the fridge for a little while, because if you do it straight from the fridge, it would be really hard to spread like this. You might kind of break the surface of your pizza dough a little bit. So you do this kind of in a nice thin layer, but just so every bit that you want is covered in cheese. And then so I've already caramelized these onions myself. So you just put the onions in a pan with some butter and olive oil, and that takes about half an hour. You just keep cooking them until they start to go a little bit brown. And then you put a bit of sugar and salt and balsamic vinegar at the end, so it goes this lovely caramelized color, and the flavor will be quite different to normal onions. So I'm just going to scatter these on the surface of the pizza. You can put on as much as you like. I really love onions, especially when they're caramelized like this, so I'm going to be quite heavy-handed with my onion topping. Depending on how much you made, you might not even use all of it. But you're just going to put some here, there, everywhere, like this. And then the very last thing to put on our pizza is going to be some pine nuts. So they just help add a good bit of texture in there. Bit of crunch to your pizza. So you just sprinkle those all over like this. I mean, if you don't like any of these toppings, then of course you could feel free to go ahead, use the pizza dough and then put a tomato sauce, lots of like mozzarella cheese or basil, or even chicken or bacon or whatever you like on your pizza. You can, it's your pizza, so you can just put whatever you want on there. And then this pizza is going to go into a preheated oven. It's 230 degrees Celsius, and it's going to bake in there for 30 minutes. Hi, so I've just finished cleaning up my work surface. It was a bit messy, I made a bit of a mess of the dough. And now it has been baking in the oven at 230 degrees for 10 minutes and it's just done now. So I'll get it out and show you. So the oven has toasted it up beautifully. This should do about 6 people for dinner. If you have sides, maybe 4 people if that's all you're having for the meal. Enjoy.